Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Bishop Darrell Watkins, and let's queer up the USA view. A new study finds that LGB medical students leaving schools at higher rates. A new study is raising serious concerns about the experiences of lesbian, gay, and bisexual medical students in the U.S. According to research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association Network Open, LGB students are more likely to leave medical school than their non-LGB peers. The study, led by Mytien Nguyen of the Yale School of Medicine, looked at national data from 2014 to 2017 and found troubling disparities. While 2.4% of non-LGB students left school due to dismissal or withdrawal, the rate jumped to 4.2% for bisexual students and 3.7% for gay and lesbian students. The researchers analyzed data from the Association of American Medical Colleges and responses to the Matriculating Student Questionnaire. Though gender identity was not included, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, and age were. Among students who provide complete demographic data, 6.3% identified as LGB. The researchers found that LGB Hispanic students, regardless of gender, faced the highest risk of dropping out. The authors wrote, quote, "Although future studies need to examine the cause of these disparities in attrition, LGB students experience discrimination within medical training environments, which may lead to the risk of attrition," end quote. They also noted that both LGB and Hispanic students, quote, "may encounter less supportive attitudes toward homosexuality, often more prevalent among recent immigrants or first-generation households, and traditional cultural values around notions of masculinity, authority, and gender roles, perpetuating rigid expectations around sexuality and gender expression, and alienating Hispanic LGB students," end quote. Researchers are urging future studies to dig deeper into how intersecting identities affect student retention and to build stronger support systems in medical education. You know what? I wouldn't have even thought about. I don't know why, but this was like a new thing for me to think about. Because, you think medical school, that's science, that's, first of all, it's super smart people and it's science, and you just don't expect, but they come from families and and a lot of times they're young themselves. And so it makes sense now that I don't know why I hadn't thought about it before, but we need queer doctors. Mm-hmm. Those of us in the queer community have unique issues, especially if you are from my age. If you live to be my age, you have special issues.
39?
Yes, 39. 39. I'm a mature 39. Because if you, when I was 39, actually when I was 29, we didn't have people my age. Yeah. We had lost a generation of men, really. And so if you have been living for decades, there was a time when you were happy to live for months. If you've been living for decades with HIV, if you are the first generation of gay men to be experiencing colon health issues and prostate health issues, because before AIDS, a lot of the testing wasn't done for those kinds of things.
Yes.
And then when there was testing, nobody lived long enough to, for it to be middle-age issues. So we are unique now, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old men who are still alive. We have all the old age stuff, all the middle age stuff, all the sexual stuff. And so we need people to understand that. We don't feel judged or ignored. So we need queer doctors, and of course, let alone trans issues. I mean, that's a whole different, what I mean? So we need queer doctors. So it is upsetting that queer medical students are having trouble getting through, because we need queer doctors.
Well, I'll tell you, when I have been in the hospital, like I've had gay hospital medical staff or personnel like come to me and like reassure me that I'm going to be okay. And it does mean a lot. But this doesn't surprise me. I remember in the early 90s when I was trying to go to college, I only got like a year and a half done. The bullying was horrible. I couldn't even walk through the halls without being taunted and
these are young adults.
Yes, and these are young adults. And it was so bad that I had one of my college professors say to me, do you want to just come to my house and take the course from my home office? And I couldn't take it. And I dropped out. I was going through so many other things.
Sure.
But so this is why this story doesn't surprise me, because it made me drop out when I wasn't even in medical school. I was just in college, undergrad. So
academic environment should be a safe place where you can get help to get through that, not be against you.
I'd be interested in see, because I noticed as you were talking about the study is 10 to 8 years old already. I mean, that's
true.
That's dated material.
That's true.
That doesn't really, in my opinion, in the medical world, matter anymore. So I would love to see how it's updated to the last 5 years. And I went to school, and got my master's degree, or at least applied to get my master's degree. So I was lucky that school was tough, and I am of that age that, in the 80s and 90s, school was tough, but school was just tough because school was tough. And I was going through growing up, and I was going through who am I? And I was going through, am I dating women, or am I dating men, or am I dating both? I didn't find college as tough because of my sexuality, because no one made an issue out of it. I was quiet and hidden, but I understand how tough it was. I was a triple major on top of that. So I made it hard on myself for no reason. But I can understand how difficult this might be for medical students, because as they're growing up, because you're in medical school till you're 25, 30.
Yeah.
Depending upon the degree you get, or the practice you focus on. So I can understand why a lot of the students might be challenged. And, there are, I'm sure, at least in this time period, because this was, again, 10 years ago, there were some challenges. But I think now the younger generations, or the years past, have gotten a little easier, even with the obscene political situation that we're currently in. Yeah. But I would like to see how this is updated and how it impacts, because we do need specialized people who in the gay community taking care of the gay community.
Yes.
We have always taken care of ourselves, medically and otherwise. In the 80s and 90s, when the AIDS crisis was so great, we had lesbians and priests and nuns taking care of us when medical professionals wouldn't. So we do need medical professionals of our community, by our community.
My doctor, my dentist, my barber, every person I can get is queer on Team Durrell. It's important. It's important. I want my people.
And to your point, college is hard enough.
College is hard.
So imagine that compounded with horrendous bullying.
Right.
Like, it's hard enough going to college.
I had the bullying in public school, but not so much. But not in university.
You know what?
Because I was a double major. And one was sociology and one was theater. So one is social science, studying these kinds of things. The other was gay. Everybody was gay. And so the between the sociology and the theater, and then in graduate school, people are older, more mature, and I just didn't have that. In fact, it was a sanctuary for me, whereas public school growing up was a complete nightmare. But university and then grad school, even in seminary, you think, well, religious people, I mean, not where I went. We because I went to a very progressive seminary, so it's a. But you're not going to have that kind of support in medical school, are you? You're not going to have a theater group or an LGBT club or whatever.
Exactly. And you brought up the AIDS crisis. I mean, I remember being in high school in the early 80s, and oh my God, it was horrific. I don't even know how we survived, because
we survived because we had to.
Yeah, we're resilient people,
and a lot of people didn't.
But it's a lot of people were dropping like flies. And to this very point, or this very topic, it might have been better if we had more medical LGBTQ people at the time for us.
My first HIV doctor was gay. Thank God.
Oh, that was good.
I mean, because I was terrified. He kept me from being. During the examination, he'd rub my tummy. You can do that now, all these issues. But he would rub my tummy, just so I'd feel touched and connected and not scared. It was like a mother almost. He called me personally. Maybe he just
liked bears.
Well, I was skinny in those days, but he called me personally. Didn't have a nurse. He called me personally with results. The minute my things were better, he himself called me, told me things were better. It contributed to maybe my survival. We need queer doctors. So
we do.
Queer people who made it through medical school, thank you, bless you. We love you. And queer people in medical school, please try to hang on, because we need you.
We do. We need you.
Well, that's a big LGBTQ story for today. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.